Greetings, Internet, and welcome back to another episode of Putting Shells on Shelves. And if you weren't aware from the title down below, this episode is going to be on the highly coveted and highly sought after 1993 wave of action figures. One thing I don't think I've noted up to this point is the fact that with with these first few videos, I'm covering just the basic series figures. We're not talking about all the extras and all the different subsets. Those guys are coming up here in the near future. But anyway, we're looking at the highly sought after and coveted 1993 wave of basic figures. Now, for this particular wave, I am regrettably, unfortunately, and annoyingly missing just one figure to have a complete set of these guys. But we'll see which figure it is here in just a little bit. So, without further ado, we're just going to ready, steady, go. We're going to get into this. I have the figures arranged from left to right across the center of the table instead of my usual from front to back. So I'm just going to grab a figure at random, and this video is going to be relatively short compared to the other ones because for the 1993 wave, they didn't release all that many figures, as a matter of fact. So there's not that many to talk about. So, ready, steady, go. We're grabbing just one at random. Okay, here we have Mona Lisa, the gecko, I think, who for some reason happens to have a shell underneath her top. Not entirely sure why that is. I think originally they were going to make her into a turtle, but then they just kind of like pulled a 360, threw a tail on there, and made her into a gecko. Now, she is one of few female figures, other than April O'Neil, who were produced in the line. As a matter of fact, I think she might be the only other female... No, that's another version of April. Never mind. No, yes. For the third movie line, there is one other female figure, to my knowledge, who was released, and that was Princess Misu? M-I-T-S-U, I believe. Mitsu. Oh, and Kala from the Toon figures. She was one of the neutrinos. But anyway, as you can see, she came with several accessories, and because, well, she's a female character, they gave her some stereotypically female accessories. Like, she's got this handbag down here, which for some reason has like a little mouth on it, like it's gonna bite you, and it's got a tail. She came with some grenades, or just a grenade, which I just realized also has a little snake head poking out of it. It's actually got a whole little snake on there. And I believe another one of her accessories was just a recast of the nail file from April the Ravishing Reporter. It was just done in this color plastic. She might have had one more accessory, but I can't think of it right now. And yeah, and another reason why she's kind of an important figure, I guess you could say, is that she had a little bit of a romantic thing with Raphael in one episode of the cartoon, but then it turns out that she was trying to lure Raphael into a trap, I think. It's honestly, I don't know if I've actually seen the episode. I'm just going off of what I've learned from the internet. That reminds me, I've got the entire complete series on DVD, and I just haven't been watching it for a good long while. I need to get back into watching that. But anyway, that's Mona Lisa, everybody. And this is one of those figures who, for some reason, happens to be missing her tail a lot of the time when you can find her, so I'm very happy to have found mine with the tail still attached. And also in great condition, paint-wise. Like, you would think her hair would have a bunch of rubs and stuff like just across the front there, but thankfully that's not the case. Moving on. We're going to just grab another one at random off of the table. You. Next we have another highly sought after figure from this wave. Half Court, the basketball playing Giraffe. Now unfortunately mine's not in the greatest of shape. Some little kid somewhere back in the 90s decided to use his feet as a teething toy, but I'm okay with that. As I mentioned in the last episode, Wabby Sabby and all that kind of stuff, I'm happy with him not being in perfect condition. I'm just happy to have him, especially considering he's complete. He's got all of his accessories, which are getting pretty expensive to get these days. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone. I just have to pause right here and jump back to Mona Lisa for a minute because I forgot to talk about her articulation and stuff. Okay, so with Mona Lisa, she has articulation at the shoulders, like this. Articulation at the head, like that. Her legs kind of have a similar swivel to the April the Ravishing Reporter, only, she doesn't have a stupid skirt on that prevents her legs from moving anywhere. And also she has this articulated tail on the back, which has the added benefit of enabling her to stand up fairly well on pretty much any surface that's considerably flat. Alright, so now back to half court. The reason why I did that is so that I can talk about the articulation on him. So, like most other Ninja Turtle figures... Oh, wait, let me double check something. Okay, she's not articulated at the waist. But like most other Ninja Turtle figures, he has articulation at the shoulders. I don't want to do too much because it was hard enough getting him into a pose like this where I could still be able to stand him and he would still have an action pose going on. He is one of the few figures from the entire series who actually has articulation at the waist, like so. He's got articulation at his tail back here. He has articulation at the elbows, which is something that not every Ninja Turtle figure can boast, especially when they've got like the hinge kind of thing. Usually they're all on a swivel. And like I was saying, he's got that on both arms. On this elbow, and on this arm, like that. And one thing that he shares in common with Hothead the Dragon is that not only can his head swivel from side to side, but... sorry, his neck is a little stuck. I haven't done this in a while. But his head actually extends up from his body. Just as a repeat. Ta-da! And he came with several accessories. Thankfully, like I think I said before, mine is complete. He comes with a basketball hoop, or the backboard of a basketball stuck in his shirt, which you can easily, at least should be easily, unplug like that, and you could have him use that as a shield. And that just attaches to this nifty little peg on the back of his shirt collar. And he's got this bike pump gun, which is actually just a recast of an accessory from another figure I'll be talking about. The Sewer Spitters Raphael. I forget exactly what he was called, like what the actual name of that particular figure was. And then of course he comes with his little sidekick buddy, which, I will be honest, I don't know what his name is. So through the powers that be of the almighty internet, we're gonna go on to that particular website again. And this time I did not prepare ahead of time. I was looking at different things. So it's going to take me just a moment to go into my favorited tabs, pull up that website. Okay, his sidekick buddy, okay, he's got his beehive basketball, he's got his backboard shield, he's got his tire pump pistol, that's what they call it, and then he comes with his little buddy, Rough the Ref. And unfortunately, because my lighting consistently sucks, you can't really see him too well, but there he is. He's a beat-up bird of some kind. He's got bandages and stuff all over him. He's got his one leg is up in a sling. A flamingo, I think, is what he's supposed to be. I see he's got his little leg up in a sling right there, and he has been through some stuff. And it looks like he's about to blow the whistle on something that's going on. But yeah, that's half court. And I think he might potentially have had some Michael Jordan inspiration, kind of like the basketball shooting Donatello. There are so many Ninja Turtles figures that I just forget sometimes. Also, a little interesting kind of a thing. His head is kind of attached to his lower half, so you can make him turn his head like this simply by twisting his waist. I've got to say, for 1993, they really pulled out all the stops and just look at all the paint detail on him. They got like every spot painted in, They got the basketball net around his neck painted in. They even went to the detail of painting his skin color underneath the net. You wouldn't see that a lot with the earlier releases. The only thing that it doesn't look like they paid too much attention to is the shoes, but then again, who really looks at a giraffe's shoes? Really. So that's half court. Moving on, again in no particular order, gonna grab this little goofball right here. This, my friends, my ladies and gentlemen, and all other configurations of being, is Sandstorm the Camel. He came with 3 different accessories: his little magic lamp gun thing, his sword, and a magic carpet shield. Now this figure, again like most of the other figures in the series, has articulation, and by that I mean all the 5th anniversary Leonardo figure I don't think had any articulation. He was just molded in a shiny kind of plastic, and he was basically just a little statue. But that all depends on what you consider to be a figure in terms of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Playmates toy line from back in the day. Anyway, he has articulation at the neck, so you can turn his head side to side. He has articulation, a swivel, at the elbow. I think that's on both. Well, this one's at the elbow, this one's more at the forearm. He has articulation at the shoulders. I don't think I've shown that off yet. And He has articulation at the hips. Oops, sorry. Let go of your shield there, Sandstorm. It's blocking everything. He's got articulation at the hips, obviously. And this guy, it seems like the folks over at Playmates Toys actually took just a little bit of inspiration from the Masters of the Universe toy line, because this is one of few figures released that has a punching feature, a spring-loaded action where he can just do this, like yah, yah. Now I don't remember if this is one of the good guys, but I'm sure Half-Court is. And he has some really cool sculpting and details going on, like he's got a snake right here on his foot that almost looks like it's just curling its way out of his shoe. It's like, see, there's the tail right there on the toe, and then it just spirals around and then kind of goes up his leg. And then, of course, he's got his pseudo-Aladdin inspired outfit going on. He's got the purples and the whites. And, of course, being a camel, he's got a big old hump right on his back there, which it looks like it's supposed to be burst out of his shirt, but they never painted it, so it's supposed to just look like he's got a hump under his shirt. And of course, just like basically every other Ninja Turtles, or every other male Ninja Turtle figure, he's got that grrr face going on. Like, come at me, bro. He also, another piece of articulation I missed, has articulation at his little camel tail. That has been Sandstorm, the mutant camel. And we'll move on to the robotic dynamic duo of robotic Rocksteady and his pal robotic Bebop. Now when it comes to these figures, it's hard to find them in this condition where, they've still got like the majority of the chrome and stuff on them, because this stuff over the years just wears off and just kind of starts flaking off and stuff because of the plastic it's put on. Case in point, my unfortunate Rocksteady here. He's got a bit of chrome damage right there on his shoulder. Don't know how well y'all can see it, but it's like really white in that one spot. You can see it better on his bicep right there. But these guys have a little bit of an action feature which is very reminiscent of Metalhead, if y'all remember him. Wherein, if you shine a light on the top of their head, like so, their eyes light up. I've always thought those kind of cool. Oh, and when it comes to Bebop over here, his ponytail lights up too. It's kind of hard to show with my phone's flashlight, but there you go. See? His eyes light up. Let me just reconfigure my hands real quick. See, his eyes light up like that, and his ponytail. I just think that's kind of cool. Obviously, this Bebop is in a bit better condition than his Rocksteady counterpart there. The only real damage to him is this spot, like, right there on the turtle shell where it's got that little bit of white, shining through. And these guys have the basic standard Ninja Turtle articulation. They've got movable legs at the hips and nowhere else. This leg is really stiff, so I'm not going to try forcing it. He's got articulation at the shoulders. And of course, articulation at the neck. And and a little bit of articulation at the wrists. Well, the wrist on that side, the bicep or forearm on this one. And this Bebop is the only one of the two that actually has any of his accessories. Wound up getting that in a trade with someone on Facebook. And Rocksteady has the exact same articulation. And thinking on it, I think Playmates Toys might have actually been kind of copying off of the SWAT Cats with these two, if anyone remembers that show. And the Metallic Cats, we have Metallic Bebop and Rocksteady. And then there was the Metallic Cats, which I'm editing me throwing a picture right about here. See? Kinda similar, eh? Now these guys were supposed to come with a few more accessories and a couple, like, guns and things that were supposed to be poking off of their bodies, but when I got them, their heads weren't even attached. Some dork back in the day, or sometime between 1993 and now, had wound up just chopping the heads off, but they kept the heads with the figures. So with a little bit of finagling, I was able to, thankfully, get the heads reattached to the bodies, because there's like just this little black peg that like connects the head to the body, and that was just snapped in half. So all I had to do was, glue that thing back together after I cracked their bodies and their heads apart to get both halves of this thing, and then just put them all back together. And unfortunately in that process, I believe it was myself that did this, but Rocksteady was dealt a little bit of damage right there on the back of his head. But what can you do? I had to do it in order to get their heads back on properly and still be able to move them back and forth. So they are what they are. Alright, next, moving on to the last one on the table. And unfortunately, this is the last figure that I currently own because I'm missing his counterpart, who is exceptionally hard to find, apparently. Ladies and gentlemen, behold, I present to you the quote-unquote hardest to find of this entire wave, even though I'm having a harder time finding the less hard to find figure from this set. Scratch the Cat Burglar. Now, this little jerk, he is one of the most highly sought after and one of the most expensive figures that I currently own right now, to my knowledge. He was the very last figure that was put out for the 1993 wave of figures, and as such, this poor little jerk got released in lesser quantities than everyone else, and because of that, he never really had a chance. Poor inmate 0009. Now with this guy, he has articulation at the hips, like most standard Ninja Turtles. He has articulation at the arms, at the shoulders, and at the forearm on this one, the shoulder here, and the elbow on this arm. He came with 4 accessories standard. He came with his cake gun, his fish comb, his bag o' burgled loot, and the only piece that I'm missing from him is Jailbird, his little pigeon friend, who is basically just a pigeon dressed up in prison garb to match him. Anyway, getting back to the articulation, he also has articulation at the head, right there at the neck, and at the tail, which I think is a funny touch that they actually had the prison outfit going all the way up the tail. And then, of course, he has a bit of articulation that not many other figures have in this series. He has articulation at the waist. Gotta be careful because he is really stiff. Apparently, the person I bought him from did not play with him very often. as evidenced by the fact that he is in very, very good shape. He's just got a little paint wear on his toe claws right there, and a little bit on his knuckle here. He's got a couple little scrapes, but beyond that, he is just about perfect. I almost forgot. The one figure that I'm missing from that line is a Dalmatian firefighter by the name of Hotspot. Now, for those of you who don't know which one is Hotspot, I've done you the liberty of bringing up the page from the Ninja Turtles Virtual Toy Museum online, so that you can get to see him in his glory, even though, regretfully, I do not currently own him. Behold, Hotspot, who will one day be mine, and then I can finally say that I have completed the 1993 wave. And I'll be quite honest with you, when I got that scratch figure, as a matter of fact, the video is still on YouTube, so if you go to this right up here, if you click on that, you'll be taken to the page, or not the page, you'll be taken to the video where I show off the entire purchase that I got from one of my former coworkers, in which he happens to be included. Now, at the time, my coworker didn't tell me that he was in the box, or that he was included at all. I was hoping, but I wasn't going to keep my hopes up. I wasn't going to get myself all psyched up just in case he wasn't in there, but I was really hoping. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and all other configurations of being, that concludes my series on the basic series figures from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toy line from 1988 up to 1993. From this point forward, at least covering the original 90s toy line, I will be taking a look back at all the subsets from 1988 up to 1993 and then beyond. So with that said, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, and all other configurations of being, if you like what you've seen here today at all, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that little bell icon to be notified of future uploads once you are subscribed. And if you feel like it, share these videos with your friends. And if you happen to think that they might not like it, or if you're not sure they would like it, share it anyway. You'd be surprised. And with all of that out of the way, all that happy horse hockey, this is your old buddy Oxleymations saying, Cowabunga, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Later.